blessed, brethren. Time to drive the Shadowsmith out of hiding.
Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to walk through the route that I took for the Astra Malorum Easter egg in Black Ops 7 Zombies that ended up getting me all of the steps complete and able to enter the boss fight by round 13. However, I did hang around after that until round 26 just to get all geared up for a strategy that can take out the final phase of that boss fight in under 30 seconds. So I'll touch on that as well as share a few tips, particularly focused on doing this solo to kind of help easily get through some of the more challenging tasks, as well as talk about a few side Easter eggs that I do along the way for a bunch of free perks. So first, starting off with just a couple callouts on my loadout and equipment and augments and things that I use. I don't ever use gobblegums. I'm not really a fan of them personally, but for my primary weapon, I'm using the new Maddox assault rifle that came out with Season 1. You don't need to use this by any means. There's nothing special about it. It is a pretty good weapon though, but that's my loadout there. And then for my field upgrade, I'm starting with Toxic Growth. I use that quite a bit for a couple of the tasks. And then I always like having decoys, and then Semtex is my lethal. But kind of the more important call out are the augments. And again, this isn't required. It just makes some of the things easier if you have them. So for Toxic Growth, as mentioned, I would highly recommend using Pollination as well as Green Thumb. Those are my two favorite for that field upgrade. And then if you have it fully upgraded, you can get that extra charge, which I have. And then probably my favorite augment for this is the Wisp T, the Zombie Sitter. So I'm going to be using that as well. That's like my new favorite augment. It makes things a lot easier for a couple of the tasks. So if you have that, highly recommend equipping it, not required, and I'll touch on that when we get there. And then finally, one other call out is, for the boss fight specifically, is Frenzy Guard. I switch over to that with the Frenzy Fire and the Extension augment. So that's going to make the boss fight really easy for the last phase, assuming it still works when you're watching this. I don't know if they're going to patch it, but again, we'll get there. So that's kind of the main callouts with my loadout. Oh, and also one more thing is Cryo Freeze is required for one of the steps, so just keeping that in mind. So again, use whatever augments you have. I've got Frozen Stiff and Liquid Nitrogen. All right, so now getting into the run. So the first call out is that you'll see these purple crystals that will randomly spawn mostly on the outside portions of the map that have a chance to drop salvage. So you can farm those as much as you want. However, keep in mind that you'll eventually need to shoot 3 of them with the Cryo Freeze ammo mod. So just be sure to have a few around when the time comes for that. So then you can see the Quick Revive machine is here as well, doing the 100 Essence Loose Change trick by going prone next to that. And then basically just clearing out this first round of zombies to get enough money to open up our first door, which is going to lead into the museum. Once inside there, we'll come across our first quest item, which is the Rock Saw. So you can break the glass of the display case and pick that up. We're not going to be using it for a while, but you can hang on to it for now. And then also this room has our first side Easter egg that we can do, which is one of 3 records that we can play for a free random perk. So you can pick up that record here by double jumping up on this wall and then take it over to the record player. Once you start playing that, some music will play, and then you need to get enough melee kills to power that up. So just try and like pull out your knife and kill all of the zombies except for 1 in round 2. That should be enough to get you that free random perk. At this point, if you have enough essence, you can open up the door that leads to the next room, which is Machina Astralis. I was a bit short, so I had to move into round 3 and kill a couple more zombies. Not a big deal though. But once you do that, head into that room and we're going to find our next quest item, which is one of 2 harmonic components that we need to power the generator on and get the Pack-a-Punch created and all that. So you can typically find that in one of 3 spots. The first is going to be next to the Arsenal machine. The second, where I found it, is next to this device that we'll use later. And then finally, the third spot is going to be up at the top of these stairs. After this, this isn't necessarily required. I mainly just did it to ensure that I had enough money early on, but there is a double points power up you can get in the top perimeter area of this room. So I use that on all of the zombies in round 3. That being said, you can make much better use of this if you hold off and use it in a higher round, but just letting you know it's there to use, and you can use it when you see fit. Going into round 4, we can open up the next door, which gives us access to the archive, the Veil Walk, and the observatory areas. But before we head in there, head up back to the second floor of Machina Astralis, where we can grab another record for a free perk Easter egg. That can be found in this box in this corner here. So grab that, and then we'll take that into the archive where the record player is. Same process as the first one. However, this one you have to do equipment kills. So what I do is I throw one of my decoy grenades, and then I throw in a Semtex into the pile. I'm honestly not sure what the exact number of zombies you need is for this, but try and take out most of the zombies of round 4 while still leaving a few remaining. After that, I'm going to do a bit of backtracking just to save some money on doors and also get the second harmonic component that we need for the Pack-a-Punch machine. And that's found in the Luminarium area, which is the other door that you can open in the beginning spawn area. So make your way back to that, by that door, and inside you'll find that also in one of 3 spots. So I found mine next to the Juggernog machine. However, you can also find it kind of by this wall and then also inside the Planetarium. So once you're able to get that, then make your way all the way back through Machina Astralis, through the Veil Walk and into the observatory. Here we need to power on the telescope and then install those 2 harmonic components that we collected. So once you kind of go through the short animation cycle of doing that, you'll then need to interact with it one more time to start an event where you need to defend the area while purple-eyed zombies come in and try and attack it. So about half of them will attack you while the other half attack the actual machine. So I just kind of run circles around the area and shoot any zombies that get near it. That being said, if you are struggling with this part, this is where toxic growth really comes in handy. You can place that down by the machine and that'll kind of help take care of most of those zombies. If you do need a full power, you can actually find one in this room by throwing a grenade up in kind of the top left area of the telescope. That'll explode and then trigger that power up.
Full power!
But once that's complete, you'll now have access to the Pack-a-Punch machine, and you'll also have to start dealing with the giant patrolling robot Oscar. So we need to destroy him 3 times in 3 different rounds using 3 different traps. One of those traps being the telescope in this room. So one of the steps we need to do to get that ready is to shoot 5 of these steam pistons that are found in various locations around the room. So they'll kind of activate one after the other in a random order, and there's a bunch of them. You can kind of see me looking at all of the various locations for those in here. You'll also notice when it activates, you'll hear kind of a hissing noise and also see it moving as well as steam coming out of it to let you know which one you need to shoot.
Little victories that mean the most.
So you can see me start to go through that process. Once you shoot that first piston, that kind of kicks off the whole event, and you've got a time limit to go find and shoot the next one and so on. Again, using that hissing noise to kind of help locate if it's nearby. You do get a decent amount of time between each one, but you definitely want to be quick about it. Otherwise, you'll fail the event and you'll have to wait until another round to do it. But again, once you shoot all 5, that'll then activate the use of the telescope.
Harness it.
So you don't have to do the 3 traps in any specific order. However, on this run, I did the telescope first, so we'll start with that one. And as mentioned, you have to do this on 3 separate rounds, and you'll know an Oscar has spawned in if you hear this noise. So you have to spend some time kind of just running around the map looking for him, which can be a bit annoying. But once you find him, you can then lure him to whatever trap you want to use. As long as you keep your distance from him, he won't really do any damage to you. The only thing he really does is shoot you with this like UFO marker thing that kind of acts like a rage inducer. So while that's active on you, if zombies get nearby, they'll kind of get enraged and get more aggressive. Their eyes will glow red. Other than that, though, if you get close to him, he will hit you. But again, if you keep your distance, you don't really have to worry about taking any damage. Also, the rounds that he does spawn seems to be a bit random. I've had times where he's spawned 2 rounds in a row, back to back. I've had other times where I've had to wait 2 rounds for him to spawn again. So just kind of at the beginning of each round, keep an ear out for that noise that I played to let you know that he is active in that round, and then you can go look for him. But he should spawn every time, from my experience, right after you get the Pack-a-Punch machine on. And ultimately, I found him right back where I started in the observatory. So once you're able to get him into this room, you can then go activate the trap by looking into the telescope here. And then you'll need to move around and look for the sun. Once you find that, put the crosshairs on the sun and that will turn the trap on. You'll have this laser that starts beaming into the middle of the room. And then basically you just need to lure him into that spot and it will destroy him. So that's trap 1 of 3, and when he explodes, he's gonna drop this little robot toy. You can ignore it, it's for a side Easter egg that I'm not gonna do. And then he also dropped the damaged drone item. So that's another quest item that's used for another trap. However, if he doesn't drop it here, you can get it anytime. When he spawns in, you can shoot one of the little UFOs that circles around him and generates his force field. Once you destroy one of those, it'll then drop the damaged drone item that you can get there. Trap number 2 is where you need the Cryo Freeze ammo mod equipped on your weapon. So once you've got 500 salvage, run up to an arsenal machine and get that equipped. That will cause the purple crystals to drop absolute 0 fragments when you shoot them, and you're going to need to get 3 of these. The good news though is that the drop rate seems to be 100%. So as long as there are 3 purple crystals somewhere active on the map, you should be good, and they do respawn randomly after every round as well. And once you get those 3 crystals, you can then use that to activate the rocket trap that's found back in the museum. So the way this one works is there's a button you can interact with that will start a 5-second countdown. You'll then see kind of the animation of the rocket starting up, and then at the end of that countdown, it's gonna have a big explosion. And you wanna make sure that Oscar is in the middle of that explosion to destroy him. So that footage of the rocket trap was on a different run just because it was a little bit cleaner. Unfortunately, on the run I'm going through now, Oscar respawned on the Ravager round, which made things a little bit messy. As you can see, I'm going through here now. Same process, it was just a little bit more hectic.
I'll take a shithead on the rocks.
That leaves us with one final trap to destroy Oscar. That's located in the Luminarium next to the Juggernog machine. This one also requires a couple quest items to activate, including that damaged drone item that Oscar drops that I showed previously, as well as wire and a car battery. So kind of worth noting as well is you don't need to wait this long in the run to collect all this stuff. Once you get the power on and the Pack-a-Punch machine on, you can start running around and collecting them as you see them. I'm just kind of showing them in this order. But starting with the wire, again, once you get that power back on, one of the street lights is going to start flickering somewhere on the map, so you kind of have to run around looking for it. It's going to be outside somewhere. Once you see that, you can shoot that, and that will drop the wire. And then for the car battery, you can get that from Old Tessie back at the beginning spawn area. However, first you need to get your weapon Pack-a-Punched. So once you get that equipped, head back there and then kind of shoot the front dash area of the truck, and that'll cause the car battery to pop out from under the hood. So you can pick that up, and then if you do this while Oscar is active in the round, he'll also spawn nearby, as well as some purple-eyed zombies that you're going to have to deal with. So once you've got all 3 items, the damaged drone, the wire, and the battery, try and clean up most of the zombies in the round, leaving only a few remaining, and then head into the Planetarium where the trap is located. If you go up next to it and there's a pop-up asking you to spend essence to turn on the trap, it means you're missing one of the items, so don't do that. Nothing should happen when you go up next to it, and if that's the case, you can then interact with it, and you should see the battery get placed in the trap. After that, wait for Oscar to enter the room and then interact with the trap one more time to turn it on. Do make sure that he's actually in the room when you do this. It seems like the timing is a bit tight on that overcharge bar that you need to fill up, and he needs to be in there the entire time almost. So again, wait till he's in there, turn on the trap, and then make sure he stays in there the entire time. If you have cleaned up most of the zombies, they shouldn't be too tough. I just kind of basically circled around the room while I did this. As you see here, after you complete all 3 of the traps, he should drop the Wonder Weapon when he explodes. I was able to get this all done by round 8, but again, because of the random spawning, it might not be until round 9 or 10 when you're able to get this done. Just kind of depends on when he shows up. In those in-between rounds, though, when you're kind of waiting for him to pop up again, I'd recommend doing TED trials if they're available, just to get some rewards and get geared up. You can also do the 3rd music Easter egg, where you get a free random perk. This one is located in the Luminarium area as well. You can find the record up on this top shelf, and then you can take that over to the record player, which is next to the kind of the gate outside leading to the observatory. This one, you require field upgrade kills to charge it up. So again, I just use that toxic growth in the walkway and just kind of let that do all the work.
Time to bust some heads.
Moving on to the next step. So unfortunately, if you thought we were done with Oscar, we still need him to spawn in one more time, as he's going to give us a code that we need, and you can't do this step until after you get the Wonder Weapon. This one's a little bit different though. Rather than destroying him, this time we need to sneak up behind him and follow him around until he plays an audio log listing off 3 different planets. So again, while you're waiting in between rounds for him to show up again, you can do TED trials if they're available, maybe buy some gear and just kind of clean up zombies for the time being. So this part might seem super annoying to do, especially if you're trying to do it solo, but there's actually a really easy way to get this done using the Zombie Sitter augment on Wisp T that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So what you want to do is at the beginning of each round, try and listen for that sound to let you know that Oscar is spawning in. When you hear that, head over to the Wisp T machine area and clear out all of the zombies except for 2. Once you've got those 2 zombies, you then want to buy a Wisp T and then shoot the second zombie to activate the Wisp. And then once that second zombie dies, he'll then just distract the final zombie for the rest of the round, leaving you free to just run around, which is awesome. I love it. So with that active, that zombie's out of the picture and you can just run around, go find Oscar, and then just sneak behind him for as long as you need until he plays the audio file with 3 planets.
Stay up there while I draw Oscar away. And remember, Jupiter, Venus, Uranus.
So that is the ideal way to do it. However, the downside of getting all of these free perks from Easter eggs and TED trials and whatnot is that there's a chance that one of those is going to be a Wisp T. So if that happens, you can't really control the activation of that Wisp as easily, which is exactly what happened to me in the run that I'm showing you now. That footage I just showed was from a different run. So if that happens, you can still get it done. You just kind of have to deal with that zombie kind of hitting you. If you can just get it down to 1 zombie and just kind of strafe around while you follow Oscar around. Then you can also use decoys to kind of give you a brief little break, but it still can be done. It's just a little bit more annoying.
Stay up there while I draw Oscar away. And remember, Mars, Saturn, Earth.
So once you get your 3 planets, you then need to convert that into a 3-digit numerical code, each planet representing a number based off its position from the sun. So in this run, I got Mars, Saturn, and Earth. So looking at the positions of those, I get a code of 463. You can then take that code and input it into this machine in the observatory next to the Pack-a-Punch machine. If inputted correctly, that will cause this lift to lower, which you can then climb up and grab a key from this corpse. You then want to take that key and run over to the room between the Machina Astralis area and the museum, where you'll find this cryo chamber that you can then unlock and open, giving you access to this brain that you can saw into using the rock saw that we grabbed way back in round 2. So once you do that, that will then have a little bit of an animation that you have to wait through, and Oscar's going to spawn right in front of you. But if you're quick, you should be able to grab it and run away.
Of course, there's an alarm. Damn it! Get back here!
And then you want to take that brain over to the Luminarium. There's a container across from where the Juggernog is that you can swap that into. Once you do that, you can then interact with it one more time to activate a lockdown event where you're going to have to defend the brain. This is another time where toxic growth really comes in handy. You can basically just place that in front of the brain and you're good to go. However, you can sit back and provide some supportive fire as well. So during that, I also went into a Ravager round, so I had to clear that out, which now puts us into round 13. But once you do clear that lockdown, you can then pick up the brain and take it back to the Machina Astralis room. Keep in mind, though, that once you pick this up, you'll only be able to walk, you can't run. So either do it right at the very beginning of a round or clear out most of the zombies first before you do this. Once you get there, there's this machine in the middle of the room that you can place the brain into and then interact with it one more time to turn the machine on. Once turned on, the screen is going to start flashing some words that we need, but we'll come back to that a bit later. There's also another device that turns on as well up the stairs that requires a 4-digit numerical code, so we're going to do that first. And you can get that by going back to the observatory and looking through the telescope again, doing the same thing that we did to activate the laser trap. However, this time, rather than looking at the sun, we need to move the crosshairs over to Mars. Once you put the crosshairs over there, you're going to get right ascension and declination numbers. In this case, we're only concerned about the declination, which in this case is 57 degrees, 5 arc minutes. So that's going to give us a code for that device of 5705. So running back to the device and inputting that code, if done correctly, you should then hear a voiceover just confirming that the code is good.
Ordinance accepted. Magnificent. Now the final activation.
Next, we need to take a look at those words that are flashing on the screen of the brain machine that I mentioned. These are going to be book titles that you need to remember. So this is another case where I make use of decoy grenades, as you're going to have to look at this for a little bit of time. So the number of books is going to vary. I've had as few as 3 that flash, and then I've had other runs where I've needed to remember 6. So just kind of vary. You just have to take a look and see what you get. So in this case, I ended up getting the Unknowable Void, Echoes of Andromeda, Witchlight Codex, and the Black Veil. So once you have that, go to the archives, which is next door, and there will be 3 sets of bookcases, each with a bust or statue that you can interact with. Each bookcase location has 3 sections, and if you interact with each one, it contains a book associated with it. So in total, that's 9 books, 3 for each set of bookcases. Fortunately, this is the same every time, so you can just look at this graphic I made to complete this step. Basically, what you have to do is count the number of books you got for each location. So going back to my example, I got the Black Veil, so that's 1. Witchlight Codex, that's also 1. And then Unknowable Void and Echoes of Andromeda, so that's 2. You then need to rotate the statue for each location the same amount of times that match that number. So once you've got all that figured out, you can run in and interact with each bust. So again, for me, it was 1 rotation on that wall, 2 rotations for this one, and then finally 1 rotation on the last one. If you do it correctly, you should hear a voiceover and an opening will appear in the ceiling. You can then climb up the ladder and pick up the model of the planet Neptune.
Show better be worth the price of admission.
After that, there are 3 pieces of paper that you need to find that are going to have pictures of Mars, Saturn, and Neptune on them, as well as a random direction that's going to be different each time. So the first one is in the archive on this desk, and then next you can head into Machina Astralis and head up the stairs. You can find that one there. And then finally, the third one is located in the Planetarium next to the Juggernog. Once you have all of those, head back to Machina Astralis, and then on the top floor, there's going to be a spot where you can add Neptune back to the solar system display that's hanging from the ceiling. You'll then need to shoot Mars, Saturn, and Neptune so they rotate around the display and align with each direction that was written on the note for that planet. If you go down to the middle and look up at the sun, you can see a compass which has all the directions as sort of a guide on where you need to put them. After those are all aligned correctly, you can then interact with the brain machine to kick off another lockdown event where you'll need to defend the portal in the middle of the room while it reboots. Also, if you notice that my perks and whatnot are different, I'm now switching to another run that I did where I just did this part a lot cleaner, so I wanted to use that footage. But anyways, before you do this, if you do have any money for like upgrades and whatnot, now would probably be the time to use them. It's not super challenging, but I would go in with as much firepower as you can at this point. So for this one, all you really need to do is just keep circling the top floor and keep an eye out for the UFOs that Oscar sends towards the portal. These are different than the UFOs that are creating his force field, and they'll make a little warning noise when he spawns them.
Now there's literally nothing happening between your ears.
So if you sort of hear that alarm noise that they make, once you hear that, be sure to try and destroy them as quickly as possible before they hit the portal. If you do miss a few, it's not the end of the world. A couple can get through and you'll still have plenty of time to make it. It'll just set the reboot timer back a little bit. But really just kind of keep circling and just focus all of your firepower strictly on those. If you do need some breathing room from zombies, you can like bring in a couple decoy grenades or like put toxic growth in your running path or whatever field upgrade you have, just to give you a little bit of a buffer as well.
You did it! The Red Planet is ours!
And as you can see, after completing this step, you get sucked into the portal and sent to Mars. So at this point, we're kind of in the home stretch before doing the final boss fight. We've just got a couple more things we need to do. You will notice here that I switched my field upgrade to Frenzied Guard. That's specifically for the boss fight. It's for a strategy I'll talk about when we get to that point, but that's why I'm doing that. And then the brain will come with you. It floats down into the middle of the arena there. So grab that and then take it back up top and place it into this machine up the top there. You'll then need to interact with it again to connect it or turn it on. After that though, wait around for just a little bit until you hear this bird noise. Then I also got a voiceover as well. So once you hear that, head to this window down at the bottom and you'll see 4 pylon towers in the back that you need to shoot, starting with the furthest one on the right and then kind of make your way towards yourself. So shoot the back right one, then go left and then right, and then the closest one to the left. Once you do all 4, and you might have to delay your shots a little bit as the bird is kind of following the pylon as it activates. Once you get all 4, turn around and shoot the 5th one that's located at the top of the arena. At this point, the bird is going to be flying around the arena and you need to jump up and grab him. I'm pretty sure you have to hit the interact key for this. You can't just like run into it. Also worth noting is that the gravity is super low here, so you can do big floaty jumps from the top. There is a time limit on it though, and he will eventually fly away. I'm pretty sure, from my understanding, you can keep shooting that pylon in the top of the arena to kind of entice him back and keep him there. However, I'm not sure if you can do that forever. So again, you just kind of have to keep doing that until you get a good opportunity to kind of line up your jump and catch him. I've had times where this was like super quick and easy, and then I've had a couple runs where this was just really frustrating and I tried multiple times and I just could not get it. So it just kind of depends how it goes. But once you do grab him, you notice my screen flashed white, kind of indicating that. You can then place him in this slot here, which is kind of next to the window where you shot the tower pylons.
Chasing after you again, understand?
And then finally, before we head back for one final step, before we enter the boss fight, you need to pull out your LGM Wonder Weapon and shoot the tops of these 5 towers around the arena to activate them. Each tower has a symbol that's associated with it, and we're going to need to interact with each tower based off its symbol in a specific order. And we can find out that order from the telescope back in the observatory. Once there, interact with this oscilloscope type screen that's going to show 5 symbols in a certain order as the organ plays. However, you're only going to get 4 symbols that match the ones on the towers, and then one of them is going to be a squiggle that appears somewhere in that order of 5. So that squiggle is just going to be the symbol that you didn't see. So in my case, the X symbol didn't appear. I'm just going to put that in the position that the squiggle showed. So once you've gotten that all written down, head back to Mars via the teleporter in Machina Astralis, and then basically just run around the arena and interact with each tower based off the symbol order that you got in the observatory.
Could be a code. One way to find out.
And that is the Easter egg complete. So at this point, all you have to do now is interact with that brain at the top of the arena, and that's what will kick off the final boss fight. However, now you can just do that at any time. So I'd recommend sticking around and getting geared up and farming some zombies for essence and whatnot for a few rounds. Especially recommend getting the LMG Wonder Weapon up to level 3 Pack-a-Punch, as that does really well in the boss fight. And speaking of that, I do already have a video that I posted on the boss fight last night. So I'm not going to go into detail on that here, so I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. But as mentioned, I do utilize a strategy with Frenzied Guard that kind of takes care of the final phase of the fight, which is really tough in under 30 seconds. So I have a feeling it might get patched. I don't know. So utilize that while you can if you want to. That's how I got through the final boss fight. But again, I'll kind of leave that to you if you want to go check that out. Otherwise, I'll leave you here. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. It helped you get through the Easter egg. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.